As I continue my mayor's report, just a couple of things. This afternoon, our administrator Patrick, our clerk Kelly, and myself, we went into the HCA Park where the Eagle Scout Mir is doing her Eagle Scout project. It's a path from the entrance of the park all the way into where the water is. And she's done a great job so far. It's 98% done. She's not finished yet, but when she is finished, we'll let you know, and it'll be a good thing to go look at it. Right now, it's still in the working stages, but she did an excellent job for us, and I think it's going to be something that a lot of people will be enjoying. This morning, I spoke with the President of the Board of Ed, Dan Marrow. I asked him how his meeting went last night. He filled me in about parts of the meeting. I asked him also about what's going on with the project of the Board of Ed. He filled me in about what's going on that. They're working very hard to get school opened. Their meeting was a meeting like anything else. People agree and disagree. But at the end of the day, everything works out for the borough and for the residents. That's all I have to report. Financial Administrative Committee, Mr. Scalero.
Thought you forgot my name for a minute there.
I can't get my glasses on fast
Thank you,
enough.
Mayor. Last month, we had the exit interview with our auditor who conducted our 2021 year-end audit, and it's always an informative session. Basically, the auditor has a couple of people here over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, and I really do look at every financial transaction. They look at our spending bills, our ordinances, they look at a variety of things, and at the end, they put together a fairly comprehensive report. And then we meet with the auditor, and he reviews some of the things that they saw. It's the last chance for them to have questions before they print the final version. The last chance for us to ask questions before it's printed. So essentially, we have a really good discussion. It goes about an hour and a half, and we talk about the methods of which we do some of our accounting and reporting, and they also do a very good job of keeping us up to date on changes in state criteria guidelines for how we report certain things, how we purchase certain things, our purchase order process, reporting certain ordinances when we get grants, when we don't use grants. So it really is a very helpful exercise because it's remarkable how things change from year to year. A couple of the things always stand out at me when we do this audit. The first is how busy our tax office is. We collect taxes 4 times a year from the residents and taxpayers in our community. And overall, it's always interesting for me to see that, and I think we have a reasonable staff. It's not like we're overstaffed anywhere in the borough, but especially in our finance office. We handle just a little over $60 million. So that is what comes through in tax receipts to the borough. Of course, we don't keep all of that. It goes to the Board of Ed, it goes to the county, it goes to county open space, and other programs. But basically, we're responsible for collecting and distributing all of those funds. So, it really is remarkable when you have all of that activity. We're tracking capital accounts, we're tracking grants, we're tracking receivables, expenditures, doing all kinds of reporting required by the state. And this is just for borough operations, doesn't count the water utility. That's an additional ledger as well. So it's a big job. They do a nice job. And while we spend an hour and a half talking about our processes and procedures and our policies as it relates to our finances, I'm very pleased to report this year that there were 2 minor recommendations that they came forward with that we'll be addressing as a council. They really are just mostly how we managed 2 different funds. One was the Open Space Fund, and the other is the Payroll Agency account. It's really funny because they counted as a recommendation that we had a balance in the account, and it's supposed to be 0 balanced out, and we carried a balance for a period of time. So very minor comments that they made. So essentially, we get an opportunity for the governing body and whoever wants to see the entire audit or the notes or the comments to take a look at that. We're very fortunate to have a great professional staff and our administrator, our clerk, all of our department heads, our CFO, everyone in our finance department that does a nice job. And you could clearly tell by this process that we manage our finances very seriously, very professionally, and very proud of the report that we received at the end of 2021. So what happens going forward is tonight we'll be passing a resolution indicating that the governing body has reviewed the audit. At least the minimal part is that we review the comments and recommendations page because it is a rather lengthy and not too exciting document. But there are parts of it that are very informative, and we do look at that and try and make improvements each year. So overall, very good report, job well done to our staff, and we'll look forward to moving that forward. So next is, the governing body has to attest and sign off that they did review the auditor's comments. The second thing I want to mention is I was in our library this weekend, and I happened to see, we have an August flyer out on some of the activities, and it just serves as a good reminder for things that, our library offers the community that we may not think about all the time. To me, one of the really interesting things that the Friends of the Library offers that we want to make sure people are aware of is the Museum Pass program. Basically, the Friends of the Library purchases a variety of museum passes, and they're available to the patrons of the Waldwick Library. You could go to the Intrepid, the Montclair Art Museum, Museum of Natural History, and others. So it changes throughout the year and from year to year, so make sure you take a look at that and see what you what you'd like to take advantage of. That and everything, including meditation with Mark, the last Tuesday of every month. So a variety of things. The library is always bringing new services and programs forward. There's now STEM kits available in the library and a variety of other things in terms of electronic materials. So take a visit to the library, look at the website, and take advantage of what we have to offer. And that is all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Fire and Police Protection Committee, Ms. Siricola.
Thank you, Mayor. The police department are currently investigating multiple motor vehicle burglaries to unlock vehicles. I feel like I talk about this every report. But lately, a motor vehicle was stolen from a residence with keys left inside, and it was tracked and has since been located. So the Detective Bureau arrested a 27-year-old male for burglary and theft for entering an unlocked motor vehicle and stealing cash. Chief Messner also wanted to mention that Pat and Troy went above and beyond to make the milling and paving on East Prospect Street go as smoothly as possible. As everyone is aware, the carnival is always a big Lions Club event in town. Chief Messner let me know that this past Friday and Saturday there were some concerns that some of you may have heard about, and I've seen it on Facebook discussed. So on Friday, the police department assisted Saddle River with a large JV party with about 300 kids present. As the party was dispersed, it was reported that many of the juveniles were going to make their way to the carnival for fireworks night. There was a fairly large congregation of kids near the intersection of Sheridan and East Prospect milling about and waiting for rides, and ultimately about 15 of them made it up to the carnival. Chief Messner let me know that the following night, a crowd of about 40 juveniles were pushing people and throwing things at one of the ride operators, so the police responded and dispersed the crowd. There was also a dispute between two females who were separated and instructed to leave the grounds. At about 9:50 p.m., due to the safety concerns, the Lions Club requested that the police department assist them with shutting the event down, which they did. For the last number of years, they've only had one officer for the Lions Club to work security, so they are recommending to look into bringing 2 officers as they had done in the prior years. As for the fire department, for the month of July, the department ended with 24 calls, 5 of them being mutual aid. They had a very small dryer fire on 729 that was held in check by the fire department. And other than that, they've continued maintenance and rig checks every single week to make sure that the apparatus and equipment is always working condition. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Mr. Shat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the ambulance corps meeting last night, and I wanted to point out that I got the run call for July, and it's 55 runs for the month of July, with 5 of them being actual from mutual aid around the other towns. I also attended the planning board meeting in the beginning of the month, and they had 2 resolutions approved and 1 application reviewed, and we'll go for a resolution for next month. Thank you.
Public Works Committee, Mr. Ritchie.
Thank you, Mayor. Keep it short. So first off, it's been incredibly incredibly hot out there, so I always feel bad for the public works when they're out there. It's like 110 degrees. It was unrelenting this last month, so kudos to them for being out there during that. You know, obviously, thanks to everyone who was involved with the prospect paving. That's all done now. So the police who were involved, the DPW who helped get that set up, and you know, unfortunately, people are speeding down that road at about 100 miles an hour right now that it's paved. So I guess that's the bad side of having good roads, unfortunately, but it is nice. The crew is out there replacing lead service lines down by the train tracks as we get ready for paving out there and repaving some potholes as well. I also had a chance to attend the Lions Club Carnival. It was okay. I mean, it was okay. You know, not the. It was fine. It was hot, but it was good to see a lot of residents out, and you know, that's about all I have for tonight, Mayor.
Thank you.
By the way, Mr. Mayor, I just want to point out that I liked the sign, the electronic sign that was down on the pavers after the fact about next time we'll leave, if you don't slow down, we'll leave the potholes there.
We'd have to thank the police department for that. It was very good.
I laughed. That was a good one.
Yeah. If you have a sense of humor, you appreciate it. Our Borough Administrator, Patrick.
No report. Thank you, Mayor.
Grant Administrator, Matt.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week, the borough was selected as a grant award recipient for the NJDEP Electric Vehicle Fast Charging Grant. The grant award is for $75,000. There were 31 award winners out of over 200 applications. This electric charging station will be installed at 15 East Prospect. Once it's installed, we'll be one of the first, if not the first, municipalities in Bergen County to have this type of charging station. So not only will it allow residents and travelers to charge their vehicles at very fast speeds, but it should be another revenue generator in perpetuity for the borough. Additionally, on Friday, I applied for the New Jersey American Rescue Plan Firefighter Grant. That is a grant of up to $75,000 for protective gear. The fire department requested to apply for 20 turnout gear ensembles, with a total cost of $86,689. $61,869 were requested through the grant. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Borough Clerk, Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 2022-274, opposing the New Jersey ABC special conditions on limited brewery licenses. I did hear from Gearbox Brewery, which is in town, and they're a new craft brewery in town, and Antonio Romano and his partner who own this are still trying to get their business going, and the limitations on this, on what the ABC is, the conditions that they put on them, will really limit how they do their business and attract people to Waldwick. He mentioned that when he speaks with customers, they've learned that most never heard of Waldwick or they've never been to town. 50 to 75% of their customers are new to the brewery, and since they don't serve food, many of these people go to our local restaurants either before, during, or after they visit the brewery. They wanted to let you know that they also reached out to our senator and assemblyman for both the 39th and 40th district on this matter. So it's important to them that the council support this opposition to the ABC's conditions. 2022-276 is to execute a well child. I know it's late in the year for Saddle River. Saddle River typically has not been on for the last 6 years. We haven't had a contract with them. However, a resident in their town utilized the clinic last quarter, so we need to implement that contract, and that just authorizes the mayor and I to sign off on that. And Saddle River will be discussing that at their September meeting. I just wanted to give you a quick update on elections, which really isn't much. We were supposed to have, the county canceled on us twice so far to do the inspections on the changing the polling places. So our proposed locations, just so everyone is aware, Borough Hall will pick up a second district here. 2 districts will be in the library community room, and 2 districts in the senior center, or as a last resort, fire company number 2. So again, these are what we are proposing. The county election officials have a final say, but this is what we've proposed, and Patrick and I will go with them when they come here to inspect these places, hopefully by the end of this week. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Our Borough Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. No report this evening.
Okay. Consent resolutions and resolutions of the governing body.
Thank you, Mayor. Be it resolved that the following resolutions herewith listed by consent, having been considered by the governing body of the Borough of Waldeck, are hereby passed and approved. 2022-263, approval of consent. 2022-264, approval of minutes, regular meeting, July 19th, 2022. Policy votes A. Waldwick Midland Park Junior Football and Cheerleading Association requests to hold the annual Penny Can Drive at various Waldwick businesses on Sunday, October 16th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. B. Marie Zalkis requests to hold a block party on September 17th from 3 to 9 p.m. with Rustic Drive to be closed between Ackerman and Ackerman, with alcoholic beverages being served. C. Kathleen Saracola requests to use Pavilion A on October 29th from 12 p.m. to dusk for the Waldwick High School Class of 2012 reunion with alcoholic beverages being served. 2022-265, apply for the American Rescue Plan funding to water treatment improvements in the amount of $1,057,989.75. 2022-266, authorize planning board to undertake preliminary investigation. 2022-267, change order number 1 for the purchase of one police vehicle in the amount of $601.74. 2022-268, award a fair and open contract to Custom Vantage, Inc. for tires in the amount of $5,501.14. 2022-269, award a non-fair and open contract to Foley, Inc., LLC for Tink Bucket in the amount of $21,457. 2022-270, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with On-Site Fleet Service, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $10,000. 2022-271, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with Northeast Sweepers and Rentals, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $10,000. 2022-272, award a non-fair and open contract to LaForza Construction, LLC for bollards at the Route 17 South Bus Stop in the amount of $5,600. 2022-273, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with Delarica & Sons in the amount not to exceed $15,000. 2022-274, opposed New Jersey Division of Alcoholic Beverage Control special conditions on limited brewery licenses. 2022-275, approval of social affair permit for the Waldeck Fire Department. 2022-276, execute 2022 Well Child Service interlocal agreement with Saddle River. 2022-277, appointment of full-time communications officer David Berger. 2022-278, accept resignation of fire official and appointment as fire prevention specialist for Frank Walsh. 2022-279, appointment of fire official Jim O'Connell. 2022-280, appointment of temporary electrical inspector Nicholas Lardo. 2022-281, accept resignation of per diem telecommunication officer Skylar Latore. 2022-282, approval of corrective action plan. 2022-283, certification of the annual audit. 2022-284, change in custodian of petty cash fund. 2022-285, tax overpayments various. And 2022-286, payment of vouchers.
Do I have a motion and a second to accept? Motion by Mr. Shalero, second by Mr. Schatz. On the question.
Thank you, Mayor. So there's a couple here that I wanted to mention. The first is the audits I mentioned during my report, the corrective action plan and the certification of audit. Those are what I said, it's the governing body attesting that it reviewed the audit and minimum the management recommendations. The corrective action plan submitted by our CFO is also being approved for the 2 items that were part of the recommendations from the auditor. 2022-265 is money that the borough received. I guess the way a lot of federal dollars work is the federal government gives money to the state gives money to the county, and the county distributes it throughout the area of Bergen County. We received from the American Rescue Plan just a little over $1 million. And, there's quite a bit you could do with it, but primarily there was some criteria when we have a major project coming up like our water filtration system. Water treatment improvements is approved under the plan. It's the largest single item that we're going to be addressing in the near future. And it also, frankly, cuts down on paperwork. Every time you spend some of this money, you have to submit a report to the state and federal governments. And we kind of felt like this kind of checked all the boxes in terms of where it's needed, the easiest way to use it, and what makes most sense. So that's a big amount that's going to help reduce the debt we have to take on for the project, and it's very welcome to be able to do that.
Mr. Mayor, I had one question on,
Sure.
on 2022-272.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be under the DOT or Route 17, Mr. Administrator?
Sadly not. No, the borough paid to install those bollards and is responsible for repairing them. The same is true for the bus shelter itself. So when the glass breaks in the bus shelter, the borough pays for the replacement. Transit's position, at least at this point, is, if there's not a bus shelter and there aren't bollards there, they'll still pick up passengers. So those are improvements made by the borough for the benefit of the borough residents.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
I'd like to talk,
Just one point to add in that those bollards were hit by a driver, and we have, through our insurance company, pursued their insurance for compensation. So this amount, maybe not the full amount, but almost all of it will be reimbursed.
2022-275, that is the social affairs permit for the fire department. That is the Autumn in the Park on October 1st that we're having. The fire department is sponsoring an adult beverage section, so that's where we have to get a permit. Also, 2022-278 and 2022-279 are almost one and the same. Jim O'Connell was our fire official, and last year he retired from working for the village of Ridgewood. According to the laws, you have to resign from any positions you hold making money from any other organization. So he had to retire for 6 months, and in his place we put Frank Walsh. Now Frank Walsh is retiring, and we're bringing Jimmy back. Both of them work together. Both of them are always involved with the fire official affairs. X was there all week long with the fireworks. They make sure the town is protected. Fire Protection Week, we go out to all the schools. Jim O'Connell takes care of all that. So what we're doing is we're just giving him back his position that he held. And I guess he's looking forward to it. Now he's considered a new employee of the borough, so our administrator will be sitting down and talking to him about the rules and regulations, which he already knows, but we have to just go through a formality to keep him abreast of what's going on in our borough. Anyone else? Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Saracola?
I'd like to abstain from the policy vote C, but for everything else, yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalera?
Yes.
Okay, public hearing. Will the clerk kindly read ordinance number 2022-21?
Ordinance number 2022-21, an ordinance to repeal and replace Chapter 97-120 Affordable Housing Controls.
Anyone from the council would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read?
Thank you, Mayor. Just for the public, basically, this is amending and bringing up to date the affordable housing controls for the borough of Waldwick. We're doing this. There's a lot of minor changes, so we just decided to repeal and replace the entirety. This will be in conformance with what Fair Share Housing Center, as well as the special master and the courts have required us to do.
Anyone else? I close the council's comments and ask the public, anybody from the public would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? If none, I close the public's comments and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading and that the clerk be authorized to advertise in local legal newspapers as required by law. Motion and a second. Motion by Councilman Ritchie, second by Councilman Schatz. Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Saracola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalera?
Yes.
Would the clerk kindly read ordinance number 2022-22?
Ordinance number 2022-22, an ordinance amending Chapter 54, Section 6, registration and maintenance of vacant and abandoned properties.
Anybody from the council would like to comment on that ordinance that was just read?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is similar to the last ordinance. The state, back in 2009, the Abandoned Property Act was passed, and the borough adopted an ordinance to register abandoned properties in the borough, as well as foreclosed properties. There's been some modifications recently to the legislation a couple years ago, so we're bringing this up to date as well to conform to the new legislation.
Anyone else from the council? I close the council's comments and ask the public, anybody from the public would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? If not, I close the public's comments and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading and that the clerk be authorized to advertise in a local legal newspapers required by law. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion by Ms. Saracola, second by Mr. Schatz. Clerk, please take the roll.
Ms. Saracola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalero?
Yes.
Okay. Introduction of ordinances. The clerk kindly read ordinance number 2022-23.
Ordinance number 2022-23, an ordinance amending Chapter 48 fees, Section 1-10.2 reimbursement rates, and adding Section 43 for the Goose Patrol fees.
A motion and a second is in order to pass this ordinance on first reading and that it be advertised in local legal newspapers as required by law, setting a public hearing 2 weeks from tonight's meeting at 7:30 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter may be reached. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion by Mike, and second by Don. Our goose guru will talk about it.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. The mayor and council have established a volunteer goose patrol in the borough. They've already started working. You may have seen them in borough parks, chasing geese. I've seen a lot of videos and pictures. They're doing a great job, and we're also fortunate to be getting more and more volunteers each week. One of the requirements of being on the goose patrol is that you are tested by a trainer to ensure that you have proper control over your dog has recall, it obeys commands, and so that trainer testing out the dogs comes at a cost. The trainer charges us $50. When we set up the goose patrol and we're working with the volunteers, they were in favor of paying that fee themselves. They took that on with understanding that they'd be members of the patrol, and so this is establishing the fee so we can charge them the $50 and we can pay the $50 to the trainer.
Anyone else? Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Saracola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalero?
Yes.
Will the clerk kindly read ordinance number 2022-24?
Ordinance number 2022-24, an ordinance amending Chapter 80 Solid Waste and Trash Disposal, Section 7 Collection Schedule.
A motion and a second is in order to move and pass this ordinance on first reading and that it be advertised in local legal newspapers required by law, setting a public hearing 2 weeks from tonight's meeting at 7:30 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter may be reached. Motion and a second. Motion by Ms. Saracola, second by Mr. Shalero. On the question, you may.
Thank you, Mayor. There are two changes proposed in this ordinance, and the reason for these changes, we are getting ready to go out to bid for our solid waste and recycling collection, and in doing so, reviewing our ordinance and our bid specs to make sure that we make it as attractive to bidders as we can, and also make changes where we think we can make improvements in the town. Two of those areas that we identified, we currently allow residents to put out 4 containers each day for pickup twice a week. And it's a lot. We never have residents put out 4 containers a day. Typically, at max, we would get 2 containers a day. And 4 containers a week is still a lot of containers. And so we are proposing to reduce it from 4 containers down to 2 containers per pickup. This will not change the total amount in tonnage of solid waste that we collect, but it may make the bid itself more attractive to bidders, which is in our best interest. The second change is regarding bulk pickup. Currently, we allow residents to put out 4 items for pickup. You can put out a total of 32 items in a month for a typical 4-week month. It's a lot of items. The majority of our residents do not take advantage of that. They don't have a need to. Where we see a lot of this happening is when people move out of a house and they do a whole house clean out, leave everything at the curb. It's a tremendous burden to our sanitation pickup, to our schedule. Those couches and mattresses, box springs, hardwood furniture, they fill up a Packer truck pretty quick, and those are people moving out of town, and they can have a great burden on residents who are here. So what we're proposing to do is to treat this much like we do with white goods, where we will do a pickup once per month, something that will be scheduled in conjunction with the Mayor, Council, and Clerk's Department. It'll be on the, like we do for white goods and electronics, it'll be on the borough calendar. You can call in and schedule for pickup of up to 2 white goods per month. So on that day, we'll go around and collect anybody who's called in prior for that collection. I think that will they'll certainly reduce our total tonnage, and that's for the benefit of all the taxpayers here in the borough. And so again, that's reducing it from 4 items per pickup down to 2 items per month.
Anyone else? Yes, Don.
You know, this is a pretty big change for some people. So, you know, if you've lived here for any number of years, you kind of got used to the pickup the way it is. And, you know, it's been really interesting because if you know people that live in other towns, and we did some research of neighboring communities and what they do in terms of policy and practice. But also just, you know, if you know people from other parts of the county or other parts of the state, you know, we have a very generous collection schedule. We pick up just about anything, you know, people want to put out there. Well, reality is starting to smack us around a little bit, and when our contract is up for renewal, we're seeing some substantial increases in talking with towns that have renewed their contracts over the past couple of years. They've been seeing significant increases. It's been suggested to us that our contract could increase by as much as 40 to 45%, maybe more. I've talked to some towns where it's more. So one of the things when we met as a committee and talked about this was, you know, this could be one way to, it's not going to reduce, well, we're not sure how much it could reduce it, but it certainly isn't going to alleviate the increase. We're hoping it controls it a little more than just doing nothing. So, you know, I think there's going to be some period where, you know, we have to educate our residents about the change. What we want to talk about, I think, during this process is why we're making the change. And, you know, some of the factors, you know, driving the change. So I think when we look at our budget for 2023, it's going to be a real challenge, and it's going to be because of things like this. We see it in our personal lives. Maybe if you're in business, you see it in your business life. The cost of everything is going up, and there's no way to get around it. I think what we're trying to achieve here is to manage it and reduce the impact. So we think this is at least a good first step to doing that. And, you know, it's going to take some work to educate people when these changes come around.
Mr. Chairman, anyone else?
I could just clarify one point, Clark, I made a mistake earlier. It's currently, we allow 2 pickups, 2 items per pickup, and we have 2 pickups per week. So that's 16 bulk items per month on average, and we're looking to reduce that to 2 items per month. Thank you.
Mike?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot more to add, except that it was difficult when we met as a subcommittee last month. It's not easy, but when you look at the dollar and cents to it, as Don said, it's upwards of maybe a 50% increase. That's several $100,000. It's just not something that, you know, if you look at our budget, it's well balanced, but there's not a whole lot of cushion in there. So something like this would be it'd be tough to muster. So I think that these are some good early steps, and I don't want to understate any impact, but I do think that the impact should be minor in nature. We already have a lot. We're picking up a lot, so I think we're reducing to what most people are probably putting out there anyway. So let's see. I think we'll see if there's any comment, but I think this is a good first step. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Clerk, please take the roll.
Ms. Saracola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalera?
Yes.
Clerk, kindly read ordinance number 2022-25.
Ordinance number 2022-25, an ordinance authorizing a special emergency appropriation for the preparation and execution of a complete program of revaluation of all real property within the Borough of Waldwick.
A motion and a second is in order to move this and pass this ordinance on first reading, and that it will be advertised in local legal newspapers as required by law, setting a hearing 2 weeks from tonight's meeting at 7:30 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter may be reached. Motion and a second. Motion by Mr. Saracola, second by Mr. Ritchie. On the question.
I do have a question, if I may, first. So at a recent meeting, we received a presentation by an appraisal company and our tax assessor on different options, and then we were polled between meetings. So I just want to make sure we understand which one we're voting for. So there were several options, and they were called reassessments, revals, and there were ongoing charges over 4 or 5 years. So what was the final recommendation here?
This ordinance is solely for funding of the contract that we will award later. The two proposals we had, I think one was 230,000 in the first year, the other was 265,000 in the first year. This ordinance is for 275,000. Will give us a little bit of cushion, and obviously we will only end up funding in next year's budget the amount that we actually spend on this. So this is first reading. Next meeting we'll have second reading of this ordinance, and upon the adoption of the ordinance at the next meeting, we'll vote. The mayor and council will vote on the contract.
So are we selecting which one we're doing tonight?
No,
Just
just
approving
money.
the amount?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, only,
got it.
only, and you are approving the borough, this is just first reading of approving the borough having a special emergency appropriation for this reason.
Got it.
And the reason the state allows us for this, the undertaking of a revaluation wasn't something that the borough expected or that the borough typically voluntarily does. We're ordered by the state to perform this revaluation, and it's based on a ratio that the county and the state put together. Because it wasn't known that we'd have to do this at our budget time, but it is required that we enter into a contract this year because the new rates have to be established for the 2024 tax year. The state allows every municipality to adopt a special emergency appropriation for performing a revaluation reassessment. Upon adoption of this at the next meeting, and also passing the resolution that we discussed, actually awarding a contract to the reappraiser and selecting what type of reappraisal we want. You'll also pass a resolution stating how you want to actually borrow the money. So we have an option to go out to notes for this, which fortunately the borough doesn't. We're not forced to do that because we have a very healthy fund balance, one of the benefits of having a healthy fund balance. And it also talks about, how many years we're going to go out for. We can stretch this out over 5 years, which is the option we choose. And if in future budgets, we want to pay all or more than 1/5 of that, we can choose to do so.
Anyone else? Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Saracola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalera?
Yes.
Okay, anybody from the council have unfinished business? New business. I just have a couple items before we go into the one that's here. Three things really. 2 weeks ago, our assistant clerk, Tatiana Marquise, started her job here. She is doing very well. I think Kelly's very happy. She is, I think she knows more than most of us, which is good. She's very dependable like everyone else. I want to thank Matt. I've seen him in action with her. Thank you very much for helping her with all her questions. It's really good to have support from everybody. And I think she's going to work out very good with the team here. Also, our administrator received an email from a resident about a curfew on Goosey Night or Mischief Night. We did it last year. We are going to do it again this year. What we're going to do is we'll probably do it in September. We don't have to do it right now. It's August. We'll probably follow the same suit as we did last year. It's the way in which we protect the residents, we protect our residents' property, and we protect our residents who are going out there to do the mischief that they shouldn't be doing. Also, with the Goose Patrol, is there any way we could bring the goose doggies here to say hello to them and let them see the public?
I think they would love that.
I mean,
Yeah.
we won't keep them here all night because,
Sure.
they need to go out maybe to do their own thing, but
Sure.
maybe we could have them here 7:30 at night. We'll have a thank you very much for them. We'll clap for them, and then they can send the doggies back to
Yes.
their home.
Golf clap, or quiet
Yes,
clap.
we'll do a quiet clap so they don't get nervous.
Yes, yes.
And I'd like you to maybe give me their names and how old they are, and maybe we'll have full doggy treats here for them.
Very good.
It'll be something
We'll
nice.
do that.
We won't bring geese here, we'll just bring doggies. Anyone else under new business from the council? Yes, sir.
All right, I'm just going to do two notes real quick. The Environmental Committee did not meet this month because takes the summer off for the month. It'll start again in September for the Environmental Committee meeting. Second of all, I want to thank our administrator and our DPW for doing a great job on the very difficult project right out here in East Prospect. I think you did a great job with it, and I never actually even engaged in it because I wasn't around for half the week, but the other week, I was around, and I had no problems. I know there were problems, and I want to thank you both for dealing with the situation and doing such a good job to get it done. I think that'll last for us for many, many years. So thank you.
Unless you speed, then you have to put the pothole. Mike?
Yeah, a couple things. So on that, also, I forgot to mention, I think it was the engineers that came around and were knocking on doors and reminding people to move cars. So that actually saved my wife's life. So it was very nice of them to do that. I also want to second what you say about Tatiana. I got an email from her about what she's doing with the DPW superintendent. It was one of the more thorough emails I probably ever received from anyone. So it was well done, and you can see she's absolutely fabulous addition. Lastly, I had a chance to attend the Board of Ed meeting last night. It was well attended. You know, the agenda's up if anyone so chooses to have a look. I think the main topic of discussion was the new health curriculum or standards that were discussed for the school year. A little bit about the ongoing work and kind of what their plans are for the beginning of the year. Really well attended. I'm a little jealous at how well attended those meetings are, Mr. Mayor. So, but anyway, the agenda's up, and I think the PowerPoint that they presented is also up. So you can go to the Board of Ed's website. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mayor? Yes.
I have a question, and I don't want to jinx anything, but I just wanted to kind of see where we stand. It's been quite some time since we've had a decent rainfall in our area. From time to time, the state starts murmuring about putting restrictions on, and I recall in prior years, and this isn't a common occurrence for us anyway, but even though we have an abundant water supply, if the state puts restrictions on, they could apply to us as well. So any update on what the state's murmurings are, where we stand, what's going on?
Right now, the state's request is voluntary, and so they're requesting that residents and businesses restrict their water use to the greatest extent possible. Obviously, we're in a prolonged drought. As far as what happens next, day to day, they monitor the levels of groundwater and they monitor levels of surface water retention and things like reservoirs. If we go, another few weeks without water, the state has said that they will begin to ratchet up those restrictions and make them mandatory. So, water limiting, odd even, and depending on how long it stretches for, could be even more severe than that. So, to help us in staying that off as long as we can, we ask residents to limit their water use to the greatest extent possible. And I know the Environmental Commission has put out good information on that about how you should water and when you should water. But obviously, early in the morning is best, and when you water, watering for longer durations so that the water gets down into the roots, and then not watering for a few days before you water again promotes longer root growth. So residents taking small changes like that now can help prevent us from getting into more severe restrictions later. But again, right now they're voluntary.
Anyone else? We'll be talking about resolution opposing the proposed increases to the state health benefit program.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So as Councilman Shalero had indicated, we're already looking at some items that will affect next year's budget, some of them substantially, even though it's only August. We have an idea that we're going to have a difficult 2023 budget season. One of the items that we're looking at with a substantial increase is health benefits. So the borough, as with many other municipalities, county and state, participate in the New Jersey State Health Benefits Program. A portion of those health benefits are paid by the employer, the borough in this case, and a portion are paid by the employee. The state health benefits plan has released their preliminary rates for the 2023 year, and they include a 22.8% increase. As you can imagine, the health benefits is a very, very large line in our municipal budget, and a 22% increase will have effects all the way throughout our budget. We operate under two different caps. We operate under a tax levy cap and an appropriations cap, and depending on the year, those caps can go somewhere between 2%, 3.5%, 4%. But large increases like in sanitation, like in this, make it difficult to remain in those caps. So this resolution asks two things of the state health benefits plan. First, that they reconsider their rate increase and strike a rate that is more appropriate. And two, that they expand the composition of the State Health Benefits Commission to include members from municipal and county government, which it doesn't currently include. So unfortunately, they don't hear voices like ours in these discussions, and they may not fully understand the impact that it will have on budgets and ultimately on taxpayers and municipalities.
Anyone else? Anybody else with the new business? Okay. Do we have a motion and a second to accept? Motion by Mike, second by Don. Clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Serocola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Shaft?
Yes.
Mr. Shalera?
Yes.
Okay. Public comments. Anybody for public would like to comment? Please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Janet Haskell, 98 Longview Drive. Regarding the Goosey night, mischievous night, cabbage night, whatever we call it, last year it was forgotten, Mayor. I don't mean to correct you, but we forgot to do it. That's why I called up
did it
to
last
see if we could get it done.
We'll do it. I thought
But
we
is
did it
that-
last.
Does that become an ordinance, or you have to keep reminding every year?
We're
that-
going to do a resolution, Kath.
Okay.
We're going to do it at the next meeting. I thought we did it last. We forgot?
No, I came too late when I asked, and you said it was like too
Yeah,
late.
we're going to pass a resolution on this at probably one of the meetings in September.
Okay,
Because we
great.
have 2 meetings, in September.
Okay, okay.
And it'll
great.
be put in there, so we're not worried about it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Al, you said you weren't going to talk tonight.
Something comes up every time. Alcohol in Dante Place. With this ordinance 24, now, I've been very, very pleased with the people we had this year. I've got no complaints. They're, you know, their timing sometimes is off. That's about all. Sometimes they're here 4 in the afternoon, sometimes they're here 7:30 in the morning. But beside that, they really did a good job this year. I'm not saying get them again. I'm not saying, you know, don't get them. But I just got my neighbors in line as to when to put the glass out and when to put the cardboard out. Now, is that going to change too? I mean, what changes are we making here? You know, you mentioned changes. Could you please
Yeah.
explain which ones?
This ordinance does not propose any change to recycling pickup. So we anticipate that next year we'll still have commingled and cardboard pickup on alternating Wednesdays. What this changes is how many containers you're allowed to take to the curb for each collection. So currently, you're allowed to take 4 containers to the curb twice a week. This reduces that to 2.
No. Never twice a week.
For garbage.
For garbage. Yeah, I'm sorry, for garbage pickup. So your recycling pickup doesn't change at all. For
Okay.
garbage pickup, this
For
ordinance
garbage, you will-
changes that currently you're allowed to take 4 garbage cans to the curb for each pickup, 2 pickups a week.
Right. And
We're reducing that to 2. And right now, you're able to take 2 bulk items to the curb for each pickup, and we're reducing that to 2 bulk items a month.
by bulk items, you mean sofas and stuff like that?
That's right. Yeah,
Okay.
and realistically, most residents aren't putting out 2 items per week, but when we see people putting out is when they're moving out, and suddenly we've got we're picking up 4 items per week from residents for a whole month, and it has a great effect on not just the amount that we pay in tipping fees, but the amount of stuff we're able to put into a truck. And the faster you fill up the trucks, the quicker they have to go to tip, the
Right.
longer it takes for the day, and the more we get charged. So
So you're going from 2 to 1?
no, we're going from right now.
Garbage pickup, I'm talking.
No. For the actual number of collections you have in a week, we're still proposing 2 collections per week. That doesn't change.
Well, then, actually, nothing's changing, really.
Just
Yeah, for a resident, for most residents, they will not see the impact of this
Good.
ordinance. And that's the idea. We want to do something that will save money for the majority of residents.
Sounds good.
But
I don't have to have another meeting with my neighbors 4 or 5 of them. To straighten them out, as to what it is. I don't think some of them can read and some of them can't come to the meeting, whatever, but we keep it going. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else?
Eric Laporta, 3 Van Dam Place. Is there an estimated time when they're going to put the charging at 15 Prospect Street?
The grant, we expect it to be executed, the full agreement, October to December of this year. There's a time frame that it has to be procured and installed within 1 year of the executed agreement. So
And
it should.
I'm sure the council is aware. Myself, I have a defibrillator and pacemaker. I'm sure you guys will see if there's a caution sign. I mean, I got knocked on my butt already with this, going through bad. I can't get in an electric car. You know, I can't work. I can't hold a 28-volt leaf blower. It sends you places, put it that way. So I'm sure, you guys can see if there's like a caution sign, if somebody walks behind when it's being done, somebody's charging their car.
Absolutely.
And Mayor, the last meeting, you gave me that paper for the sewer authority. People on the street have called twice.
He doesn't call you back?
No. I mean, one time he was in a meeting, it's understandable. One time he's on vacation. And it's been twice, since a month. We're going to try again, just to, maybe sit down with him.
If you don't get to him this week, send me an email, the
Okay.
town email, and tell me. Give me
Okay.
his name, his number, and then I'll see what we could do.
All right, thanks.
And I would also encourage residents to go to the sewer authority meetings.
The meeting's the same night
Yeah,
as this.
same.
So on a night like tonight, you could, as a resident, you could go to their meetings instead of ours. They're a more appropriate forum to hear concerns about the operations of the sewer authority. And I'm sure that the commissioners of the authority would be interested to know if their employees are not returning your calls.
Okay,
Yeah, let me know.
thank you.
We'll take care of it, Patrick. Anyone else?
Josh Sheriff of 138 Waldeck Ave. I just wanted to say 2 comments. I think that everyone should know that there's nothing to be afraid of the water. I actually am very happy to say that there isn't really. I think that what happened was residents were just a little bit afraid, and I understand that it happens, And I understand their concerns, but there's nothing to be frustrated because, I found a lot of information on the water on the borough website, and, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like we're going to perish the next day because, to be honest, it's I get that people were getting frustrated still, and I just want to tell people that it's okay. I washed my hands using our sinks at the library, and the water Waldeck has great water, so, I think we have a great water system in Waldeck, so good. And second of all, it's a disappointment that to our top government, the state, and there was a bill that was passed, and I understand, and I agree with what Councilman Don was saying. Things are going up again. They just passed the bill, and that's why I'm speaking out against Congressman Josh Gottheimer, because, it's an insult. Waldeck can't afford this. It's a burden on our residents, and so I want our residents to go out and vote against Josh Gottheimer, because he is not.
Excuse me, you're not allowed to talk like that at a council meeting. We don't get involved in politics like this. I'd like you to strike it from the record. We don't do that. Unfortunately, we cannot do something like that. You can't come here and attack another elected official. We don't operate that way in this borough. I mean, I know how you feel, you're frustrated, but, you're better off outside talking than here, because it's not the right thing to do, because we cannot comment. We cannot comment.
Sorry.
No, that's all right.
I didn't
We
know.
learn. No, we learn. That's how we know things. We learn.
Absolutely.
But I know how you feel, and you have a good desire and everything, and that's good.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I just think the residents, they don't deserve that burden, and
I know.
And, I agree, you guys are a great council and mayor, so, it's understandable, And I feel bad, and, so I understand you guys.
Well, keep on supporting us.
Yeah, all right.
Anyone else?
Armando, 83 Highwood Ave. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to address Matt, thank Matt and Patrick for securing monies for the EV stations, the Environmental Committee. They'll be excited when I give them the news. We look forward to seeing those, I'm assuming, in the new borough parking lot. And this is a good opportunity for us to save money and put some good things in town that are environmentally friendly. Again, thanks again for the hard work. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, Mike McHugh, 79 Bergen Ave. Just want to thank Kelly today for putting in the request to the police department for the crash data. As you know, I've been here a couple of times about the Bergen Ave traffic and Route 17 and whatever. I also want to let you know that I mentioned last time I had my friend who was worked for Department of Transportation for Rutgers University, and he came up in May, and it was very enlightening. We actually walked along Route 17, along every block. We went up and down every block. And some people jump out of planes or bungee jump. I can tell you doing that gets your heart pumping just as much. So my understanding is, I just want to give you a little update, is I have a draft resolution from him. So once we get this crash data, we can submit this all. My understanding is that we can submit this to the state, and they will use their resources so that we don't have to pay anything, or very little, or whatever. I know you're going through a budget process now, right? So that's my understanding as of now. And my friend also would be amenable to coming here and talking to you guys, or we can have a meeting. He's very knowledgeable about this and had a lot of suggestions. And he did say that what he witnessed was probably the craziest thing he's ever seen, with the way those blocks go into Route 17. In fact, down by Dora, I didn't even realize this, living here for 32 years, that there's 2 or 3 houses that their driveways are on Route 17. And the only access to their driveway is on Route 17. So he said, and his suggestion was that we don't propose any solutions, right? We don't say in our resolution, we want this, we want that. Just say, here's a problem statement, and you guys come in and evaluate it, give us some recommendations, and then I think we can choose to accept or not, or make any changes, or do nothing. So that's up to us. I just want to give you a little update on that. And thank you, Kelly. And once we get the data, if we, whatever format it's in, we'll go forward and hopefully submit it, and get something done. So,
Thank you.
so thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff Rogoff, 63 East Prospect. Comment and a couple of quick questions. Just regarding Board of Ed. Actually, the attendance is probably more impressive than it may even appear being in the room, because there's always a fair number of people appearing on Zoom. They've started announcing that at the end of the meetings. And I know the township has a contract with YouTube, or whoever it is that is doing it. I would just, again, encourage when that contract is over, some thought be given to having a remote option available as well. I think it increases the ability to participate, certainly for people like myself who work in the city, who can't always make this meeting, and would like to ask a question in real time. It would be a welcome addition, and I know just seeing it used at the Board of Ed meetings, it is something that can be integrated into a live meeting. Regarding East Prospect Street, looks wonderful, greatly paved. One of the things I've noticed as a resident of East Prospect Street is we sometimes have a problem with trucks, which are bigger than the allotted size that are supposed to be on East Prospect, and they don't appear to be making local deliveries. I don't know what can be done with that other than maybe occasional, more police observing of that. But, to the extent we're worried about potholes coming back, certainly those oversized trucks, which are not infrequent to East Prospect, are certainly going to contribute to that. So I want to mention that. The questions were just, I think I got the numbers right when you were going over the change to the garbage pickup, and I wanted to just confirm did I hear right? It's going from 4 containers down to 2 and 2 bulk items a month without calling for a special pickup? Or is it 2 bulk items a month, and if you want to do it additionally to that, you would need to have a special pickup?
The first part you have right. So it's going from 4 containers of solid waste at the curb per pickup to 2 containers at the curb per pickup. On the bulk items, right now you can take 2 bulk items to the curb per pickup. It will be reduced to 2 bulk items per month, and those 2 bulk items will have bulk pickup 1 time a month. You will call the clerk's office and schedule the bulk pickup for a day that we pre-select, just like we do now with white goods. Now with white goods, if you have a refrigerator, you'll call Borough Hall and you'll say, I have a refrigerator for pickup, and we'll tell you, all right, the next pickup is May 3rd. Yeah, usually it's the beginning of the month, and so we'll tell you what day we're going to pick it up. You put it to the curb after 6 p.m. the night before. We pick it up the next day.
Okay, so
That's how bulk items will if adopted. That's how bulk items will be handled.
So it wouldn't be that you would put it out with the garbage
No.
twice a month. It would be that you look up when the 2 days of the month, or I call up when the 2 days of
One day a month.
1 day a month.
2 bulk items.
1 day a month, 2, okay. So,
And you'll call to schedule that. And it's relatively simple in that that's currently how white goods and electronic goods work, and those run very, very smoothly. Residents right now don't have much confusion over how we collect how we collect white goods.
right, and so just to confirm, I can appreciate like a stove or something is a bulk item, but.
A stove is a
No.
white.
I'm sorry, a
good.
white good.
Yep.
A stove. What is it exactly that would constitute a bulk item as opposed to just something that's not, or if like I put out a coat rack, is that like a bulk item?
If you can break your coat rack down to where it could fit into a 50-gallon container, that you could put out at the curb during a regular pickup, because that's what we pick up during regular pickups. We'll pick up 2 50-gallon, 50-pound containers. So if it can fit in that 50-gallon container that you have, that coat rack can be picked up. If it's larger than that, it would be considered a bulk item. You'll call us to schedule for a bulk item pickup. We'll tell you, okay, this is the day next month we're doing bulk item pickups. Put it at the curb after 6 p.m. the night before.
Okay, and so a bulk
So
item,
a bulk item is basically when you pick up your house and shake it, anything that falls out is a bulk item. So we're talking about, it's nothing permanently installed. It's not cabinets, it's not sinks, it's not toilets. It is couches, mattresses, box springs, dressers, bookcases, those types of items.
okay. And is, I remember when the last sanitation contract was up, we only had like 1 bid.
Mhm.
And so I imagine part of the rationale for this is to make it more attractive and hopefully get more bids, right? Is that
Yeah.
part of what this is driving this? I mean, I guess what I'm just sort of wondering, and I certainly appreciative of that goal, that was something, I commented on last time. I'm just kind of wondering is if there was just some way we could meet this goal of the need to reduce the amount and to coordinate with something that's just a little more flexible. Because like sometimes, occasionally, like I will just realize, oh gosh, I got to get this out of the house, and now I don't. Now, if this plan is going to come into effect, I've got to coordinate and do it in twice a month type thing. And certainly, we know we can't keep it out at the curb, and it just may not be tenable to store the thing in the house. Like I'm just sort of wondering if there's a way that we can reduce the amount, which sounds necessary in order to make our town more competitive with sanitation contracts, but also just would give greater flexibility occasionally to put something out. So just flagging that for thought. And lastly, my question, I know you've mentioned this before, I just forgot what the definition is. In just looking at the consent items, there's like a number of things that are described as fair and open contracts and some things that are called non-fair and open contracts. And I was just wondering if you could say what the difference is between the fair and open contract and the non-fair and open contract?
Sure. The state legislature has enacted pay-to-play legislation. And any contract that is either over $17,500 per contract or over $17,500 in aggregate with that vendor falls under the pay-to-play regulations. For items over 17,500 but below 44,000 now, we can get quotes for those goods, or if it's a professional service, even if it's over $44,000, we can get quotes. If we don't do it in a way that is prescribed by the state as fair and open, in that it's a competitive process, it's advertised, publicly open, and awarded by the governing body, if it doesn't meet those criteria as fair and open, it's non-fair and open. And non-fair and open, if it's a non-fair and open contract, you have additional restrictions on how much money you're able to donate to political campaigns and to political candidates. That's really the nexus of the law. What they want to make sure is that as a vendor, you're not contributing to any elected official so that you receive favorable contract awards. And so the non-fair and open, while it sounds bad, it sounds like, why is the borough awarding a non-fair and open contract? It's actually very, very strict in how much money you can contribute to local elected officials, state elected officials. And so those non-fair and open contracts for the year after the contract and for an amount of time prior to the contract, they can't make any reportable contributions to a candidate. A reportable contribution is any contribution over $300. And so, you're very limited in contributions. Fair and open, which sounds great. It sounds like every contract should be awarded fair and open. If you go through a fair and open process, those vendors can make any amount of contribution to an elected official. There are obviously other requirements on both the elected official's point and potentially on the vendor's point, but there are, you have greater flexibility if it's as a vendor if you're a fair and open contract.
Well, because I assumed it had something to do with the fact that something being up for bid, and it doesn't sound like it has anything to do with that at all. It sounds like it has to do with the contributions that the person awarded the contract can make.
Yes. But the fair and open designation, whether it's designated as fair and open or non-fair and open, is a result of what type of process you go through to secure that vendor. So to give you a real life example, item number 268, fair and open contract to Custom Bandag for tires. I'm guessing that they are.
I can explain.
Is it that one's
yeah?
a
So
state
for
contract?
Custom Bandag, we had done about $15,000 in business with them over a year span. This $5,000 put us over the $17,500 pay-to-play threshold. So because of that, I had to go to them and get paperwork stating they stated that they have not given more than $300 in contributions to any of our council members, assembly members, or congressmen. They get that paper back.
No, not for this one. Matt, this
that
one's
one?
this
Not
one's
fair?
on a state-approved
Oh.
co-op. So
Oh, that was fair and open. I'm
Custom
sorry.
Custom Bandag, they have gone through a fair and open contract because they responded to a New Jersey state solicitation for vendors. They went through that process. The state selected them as the vendor or in a group of vendors that was most advantageous, cost and other considerations. And so they went through that process. Anybody can use them. They're fair and open. We still have to pass a resolution because you as a taxpayer are entitled to know where your government is spending money, and it's designated as fair and open. Another item on this contract.
I was describing non-fair and open.
Like non-fair and open for Northeast and to Foley for a Tink bucket. That's do it a non, 269, Foley. It's a non-fair and open contract. We spent over $17,500 with them, but it's below any other requirements for competitive bidding. And so we got multiple quotes on that, which we're required to do, but it didn't go through a fair and open process. So they're designated as non-fair and open, and now they are not permitted to make any reportable contributions to an elected official that would have any influence over the governing body here in Malden.
Okay, so
It's difficult, and I would recommend that if you have further questions, feel free to come in and talk with me. We can sit down. I can go over a couple different types of contracts and show you. There are people who have been doing this for a very long time, and it's still very confusing. I'm sure our attorney has defended people who have run afoul of some of these rules because they are complicated, they are changing, and they're very, very nuanced. So, if I'm happy to answer your questions. If you want to make some time to come meet with me, I'd be happy to sit with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, I will make a motion to go into close. We're going into close, and there'll be no decisions made. Do I have a motion and a second to go into close? Motion by Ms. Sericola, second by Mr. Ritchie.
45 minutes.
All those in favor? Aye. We should be done in about 45 minutes.